What's good? Bevan here with Tried and True EDC. Today we're going to be taking a look at another FLISSA pocket knife. FLISSA sent me 3 of these, different models of course, and this is the third one I'm getting to in the month of October. This is the basic packaging, came in this little plastic baggie, and there is some paperwork that comes with it. The blade is a reverse tanto blade shape, and it is coming in the D2 for the steel. That is the model number. However, when I get to availability and cost, I'll talk a little bit more about that. It does use a flipper tab for deployment. It's got a nice little fuller on the top. Let's see if it's sharp. We'll start with the magazine paper. Oh, it's not that sharp. Let's move on to the zip tie. That didn't take too much effort. I've got some rope. This is 3/8 of an inch poly rope. Oh, not that clean. Well, kind of clean. It doesn't have much belly on it, as most reverse tantos don't. Yeah, this is not that sharp, folks. The other two that I received were much sharper. The blade also has a coating on it, and it's kind of like a gunmetal color. It's a nice little touch to it, I would say. It's a nice finish. No jimping, smooth all around. As you can see, the edge can be touched up though. The handle has titanium liners, nice and thick actually, and it's got G10 overlays as the scales. The gripping is very nicely done, lots of grip, and then this additional milling actually gives you that additional traction. FLISSA got their logo right on the pivot pin. Hardware is what you would expect. You got 2 for the standoffs in the back, both which look to be stainless steel. It's using a liner lock. Again, that is with titanium liners, so it's nice and thick, easy to disengage. And it's got this area right here if you want to throw a lanyard on there, some paracord. It is running on bearings, as you can see right there. Let's take a look at some dimensions. The weight of the knife is coming in at slightly over 3 ounces, 3.07 ounces. The overall length on this one, I will call it 7.5 inches, with the blade at 3.25 inch. Cutting edge is more like 3 1/8 of an inch. It is quite thick though, so we're coming in at slightly under 1/2 inch for the thickness, and the width is about 3/4 of an inch. Let's do some size comparisons. We got a Benchmade bug out on the bottom and a 940-1 up top. Pretty comparable in terms of overall length. Let's take a look at a couple more. We got the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 on top and a Para 3 on the bottom. More comparable to the Para 3 from overall length, but it does have more cutting edge. The action on this is really nice. The bearings really do help with the fluid deployment on this one. And you can either use a light switch or a push flip. I prefer the push flip though, because light switch has failed deploy maybe 5% of the time. If you just put some more pressure on there, push it inwards as you flip it, it will flip a lot more reliably. As I mentioned, it is a liner lock using titanium liners. Easy to access the lock bar from right here. There is a cutout for it. Very nicely done. Now, having had this for about a couple weeks, if you do put enough pressure on here, you can watch it bend, move just a bit. So something to keep in mind. I don't foresee that as a huge concern, but I wanted to call that out. Flipper tab is the only method of deployment though. You can't really open it with your thumb using the fuller. It's not functional in that sense, but the flipper works very well. The ergonomics on this one is quite nice. I will say the pocket clip does present a bit of a hot spot, but it really depends. If you're holding it like this, where the pocket clip is right against the bottom of your fingers, you'll feel it a little bit more than if you were to put it in terms of this pocket in your palm. So then the pocket clip doesn't have as much pressure on your hands. You got your saber grip, your hammer grip, reverse grip, all work well. Nothing uncomfortable, nothing I would consider a deal breaker. Pretty standard looking pocket clip. It is not deep carry, so you will have a bit of real estate sticking out. And it feels stiff, but let's take a look in the pocket and see. It takes a little bit of force to get it in there. Easy out. Yeah, let's take a look up close. So that's about how much of the knife is in there. That's about how much is sticking out. Doesn't take much real estate, so you can easily get your hands in there. There is a good amount of ramp on this one, but again, it's a bit stiff, so it will take a bit of force to get it into the pocket over the seams. Currently, at the time of this recording, this is coming in at $17.99, and you can purchase it on the Amazon storefront. FLISSA does have their own website. However, all the links take you to their Amazon storefront. I will throw a link in the description if you're interested. Check that out. There's also a little bit more information if you're curious. They also provide another color for the G10. They list it as brown, but it is, from the images, looks more tan than brown. So widely available. You can easily get one off Amazon. What are my final thoughts? I like this, but not as much as some of the other ones they've provided. So just to kind of give you a frame of reference, these other two were also sent to me by FLISSA, free of charge, in exchange for some video content. And when you're a small YouTube creator talking about knives, when people offer to send you some knives to check out, it's hard for me to say no. I've done a video on both of these as well, and I'll throw links to these two if you're curious. You can check those out. But I think out of the three that I just showed, the one that we're talking about on this video is my least favorite one. I've transitioned to non-flippers for the most part. When I first started this hobby, flippers were my thing, really liked them. I don't have as many flippers in my collection anymore. It's overall a nice knife. I am a little disappointed it's not as sharp out the box as the other two were. But it's got really nice thick liners, really helps with kind of reinforcing the frame on this knife. The G10 has lots of grip on it. Maybe a little bit of jimping would help, but I think aesthetics of it, the jimping wouldn't make as much sense. It does look like a very sleek knife, very slim in the pocket, not too much belly, so the sliceability and certain tasks won't be as effective. Overall, I like it, especially for $17.99. I think that's a pretty good deal, and I think this is a competitive offering. The pocket clip isn't reversible, so very tailored to a right-handed tip-up carry. And something I mentioned in the beginning about the branding, the billboarding on the blade, is that should be the model number. However, if you look it up online, you can't find this particular knife by looking at that model number. So again, I will provide a link if you're curious to finding out more information. I think FLISSA did a nice job on this. It's not standing out from the pack in any way, but if you're looking for something nice and slim in the pocket, it's a little thicker in this sense, but in terms of its width, it is not very wide. There is jimping also on the flipper tabs. It does provide that additional traction, but as I mentioned, a push flip is easier to deploy and more reliable than a light switch. Let me know if you're familiar with FLISSA knives. I've only recently been introduced to them, but it looks like they have a lot of different offerings. Curious to see what else they put out in the future. But go and check this out if you're interested. Appreciate you tuning in. Let me know your thoughts and comments. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay frosty.